Welcome back. Now, local chief executives are taking steps to mitigate anticipated recession risks. That's according to the latest KPMG CEO Outlook Survey, which revealed that 6 out of 10 CEOs believe that the most important growth objectives over the next 3 years lies in innovation, research and development. They are also banking on capital investments as well as strategic alliances with third parties. Let's discuss this further now. We're joined by Business Leadership South Africa's Busisiwe Mavuso. She's the CEO there. Thank you so much, CEO, for your time here on ENCA. Now, just firstly, we seeing, according to this report by KPMG, that there is about 87% of CEOs who believe that in the next 12 months we will be in a recession. Some of them believe that it won't be so bad. Just explain this further to us in terms of, when you speak to those who are affiliated to Busa.
Yeah, good morning, Maseko, and thank you very much for inviting us. So I really think that what the CEO's outlook is, as expressed in the survey, really follows on what the IMF has said. You remember the IMF had their annual conference in Washington, D.C. last month, or was it in September, where they actually echoed the very same sentiments, that there is a looming global recession that we all have to be ready for as the world. The IMF has already said that the West is yet to come. They've already said that more than a third of the global economy is headed for contraction this year. They've already said that apart from the global financial crisis that we actually experienced as the world in 2008, the global growth profile at the moment is at its weakest since 2001. They've already said that we are worried about the growing price pressures, which are a global issue, and they've already said, for the first time this year, the three biggest economies, are actually going to be experiencing slowdowns and contractions. Yeah. And the economies that we're talking about is the US, the EU, and China. Mm-hmm. And I think we really have to look at what the impact of that, Maseko, is going to be on the South African economy, especially as a country that is trying to get investment from these very same economies,
exactly.
Because the proximity of these three economies in particular, is actually very close to South Africa, so that is actually going to be an impact. Mm. But I think be that as it may, Maseko, I think the one positive message that I actually take out of the survey is that in spite of the challenges that lie ahead in the short term, CEOs are actually saying that in the next 3 years, they are confident that, their companies are actually going to be resilient and they're actually going to be optimistic about their own growth prospects. Yeah. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, and they do believe that as much as we might be facing tough times ahead, there actually is going to be hope, once the storm has actually passed, and they talk about, there's really 4 key themes that come out of the report, yeah. And one of the themes, economic outlook, and from an economic outlook perspective, CEOs are saying we are ready and we are prepared, yeah. to weather any political and economic challenges, and there's serious in the growth that lies ahead, yeah, and they are also actually.
And I guess, in terms of what we went through as a world with COVID-19 also, forced them to prepare for another tragedy that might strike the world, right? COVID-19 also came with its positives for business where they were able to plan and forecast better. But let's talk about another aspect. There were 4 aspects that you were saying earlier. Technology. They talk about how they need to improve their technology, and South Africa being one of the top 3 countries with poor cybersecurity. We cannot only blame the state, right? State security, yes, we all know it has been found wanting in South Africa, but simple things like protecting your own software and making sure that you have a firewall for your own business is also something that's very important. I mean, it's quite scary to think that South Africa is 3rd in the whole world to have, very bad cybersecurity efforts.
And I think the issue of technology was actually very prevalent during COVID, as you rightfully say, so a lot of what we're seeing at the moment, we've been prepared, for by COVID. So technology was one of the biggest disruptors during COVID. We're sitting in a situation now where you and I can have this conversation, with me not being in the studio. And I think these are the opportunities that technology actually brought along. Mm. So CEOs in this regard are actually saying that there's current uncertainty, which is actually driving CEOs, to prioritize corporate digital transformation. Yeah. So we are aware that fourth industrial revolution is going to be coming in, and it's going to be coming in hard. But with the fourth industrial revolution and the opportunities that it actually brings along, there's actually going to be the risk that you're talking about, Masego, the risk of cybersecurity. And we are not as prepared as we yes, South Africa, at the moment. And I think it makes sense because I think the technology adoption was not as prevalent in the South African environment before COVID.
Yeah.
So a lot of us actually take to technology only during COVID. And I think we took to technology from a functionality perspective. What technologies do we actually require for us to be able to continue our operations? But we didn't look at the fact that on the other side of the coin of that is the fact that with the the security, the technology that you bring into the system has actually to be secured, because companies are getting hacked, so South Africa is therefore lagging behind in as far as that is concerned. But I think also, Masego, it's the issue of digital inclusion, right?
Yeah.
Because not all of us can actually access, technology, the Wi-Fi, the internet, in South Africa, as what other economies are actually doing. So we are lagging behind. Right, and I think we need to do a lot as far as that is concerned. But really, emerging technology is seen as a top growth risk, but it's also seen as a opportunity for South Africa to be able to play on global stages.